Rosebud.
Hey, doll.
How we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We made it.
We did.
We got through spring break.
Yes.
And we are back for another episode of Do We Have To? A Marriage Podcast. I'm your host, Sean.
I'm Emily.
And to our wonderful Do We Have To crew, we have a wonderful, wonderful show planned for you guys today. We're going to be running through a few things. We're going to be doing, another wonderful Sour Patch Kid moment, right, Em?
Yeah.
We're going to be playing our second round. We're going to start that second round off of Let's Get Deep. And then we're going to dive into one specific question we got from a member of the Do We Have To crew. And we're kind of going to really talk about the origin of what ended up becoming this project because of where we were when we were kind of close to getting divorced. I would say we're on the path to it at least.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into that today. We're going to dive into it in multiple episodes. We're going to break it up. So Emily and I originally were talking about just mentioning and going through everything on one episode. And then as we talked about it and we started reliving going through therapy, we thought it would be good. How it would be most impactful for everyone is to break it up into kind of three key segments. Mm-hmm. And so I'll talk about that when we introduce the topic a little bit later today. But first things first, let's talk about some more fun things, which is we got to enjoy the wonderful Royals opening day.
Yeah.
As we're wearing our garb here.
I know.
You're seeing actually what Emily and I both wore out to the wonderful Kauffman Stadium. My amazing cousin, Tyler, and I guess she's my cousin-in-law, but because I always say cousin, that sounds odd. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
His wife,
so
Ashley.
I should say my cousin Tyler and his wife, my cousin-in-law, the wonderful Ashley Miller and Mr. Tyler Miller came in town and they took us out to opening day, which seems odd because when they're in town, we should take them out, but they did that and they took really good care of us. And we tried to take really good care of them and got to enjoy time with them and the kids. And it was absolutely wonderful.
It was a blast.
The ballpark too.
Baseball season is one of my favorite seasons.
It is.
Yeah. There's just something I love football and hockey and like soccer and like all the sports.
Yeah.
But there's something about baseball where it is a competitive sport.
Yeah.
But it is relaxing and it is enjoyable. Sometimes it's relaxing. Sometimes it's a little stressful.
But yeah, it can when it is stressful, it is stressful.
But like I will always be a Royals fan because I grew up and I'm born and bred Kansas City. But then I'm also a Cubs fan because of my dad.
Right.
And there's so much history, I think, within baseball stadiums.
Yeah.
And in the sport of baseball itself, I think there's so much history. And I just think it's one of those sports where no matter what level of sport fan you are, you can enjoy the game. Like it's easy to learn. It's not like easy for like, I don't mean that meanly. Like it's a sport where the rules are easy to pick up on. You can see it happening in the play. You understand it. Like it's not complicated. You don't have to learn a whole bunch of different trick plays and all of that stuff like you do like football and hockey and all of that. Like it's very straightforward for the audience, and I think everybody in the audience can enjoy baseball in some aspect. And there's just something about going to the stadium and just sitting in those seats, and I don't know. It's the whole atmosphere for me. I just love baseball.
Yeah, and I will say Kauffman Stadium now, I mean, from the time my first opening day was in 1994. No, 90. Well, I guess it would have been 95 because we moved in 94 in the fall. So 95, it would have been the 95 season, which would have just been right after the strike, I think. But anyway, we did that first opening day. I remember skip school and everything. And the weather was not near as nice as it was this time. That's kind of the only thing, right? The weather can be a pain in the ass, but Kauffman Stadium does a great job. They've built so much on that stadium to be inclusive of families. And I think that's the biggest difference with baseball. Like football is my favorite sport and Arrowhead is just amazing. It's got this huge, like large college atmosphere to it, which I think is unique from a lot of football stadiums where, to your point, I think traditionally MLB stadiums just have a ton of nostalgia, history to them, and it's very inclusive for families. Not that you can't do it with the NFL. It's just different. And like, they have a mini golf course out there and they have about 20,000 places you can get the kids ice cream. They have you can run on the little miniature field there. They have jungle gym and all these sorts of things. You don't really necessarily need a baseball, but just something that like, no matter what your situation is and who you are and your family, if you want to just, you're an individual, you just want to go watch baseball, you're there on a date, you're there with your family, everybody can do it. And it was awesome. And the weather was perfect.
It was gorgeous.
It really was. And Tyler got us fantastic seats. We got to see Seth Lugo get the Golden Glove Award. We get to see Salvi and Bobby Witt get their silver bat. And I think Bobby also got the Golden Glove as well. So that was really cool to see up front and close. So, yeah. Good times. Good.
We got to see him win.
Yeah.
Lose one, win one.
Well, we didn't see him win on opening day. They lost in extra innings opening day, and I didn't go. Emily got to go and enjoy a few margaritas and enjoy watching Seth Lugo pitch. He didn't get to start until the second game. So yeah, it was exciting. It was a good time. Yeah. And I think the boys and the girls, they all had a blast, even though there are obviously big differences of which one was into what.
Right.
Yeah. However, I will say this is a good segue into the Sour Patch Kid moment, just because this revolves around our wonderful Tyler and Ashley's son, Maddox, and they were driving home. we were driving home from opening day, and we're going to get food. You want to break it down?
Well, we were just chatting in the car, and Sean was driving us throughout the wonderful city of Kansas City
I kept missing turns.
Longest way home possible.
When I'm having fun and I'm relaxed, like I might as well be 90 years old.
We could have ended up in
I'm missing turns.
We could have driven all the way back to Louisiana.
I somehow drove us at a dead end by Argosy Casino, trying to get over to Riverside. Like, what am I anyway, I take
you
full
drove us to
responsibility
KCK instead of like going up north.
That's because you and Tyler give me a hard time. They looped us around in the stadium circles. That way. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Fair.
We got to joyride around Kansas City. It was great. It was a great learning experience.
Absolutely.
But anyway, we were just chatting, and somehow the conversation of Saturday Night Live came up.
Tyler quoted Saturday Night Live from like an old political cold open back, like, I don't know, back when like Clinton was running against Bush, I think, off the top of my head. And he was like, I was understanding there would be no math. And he said something like that. And I was like, oh my God, that was amazing that you pulled that out. Because sometimes we just will quote a movie or a show and like, Tyler, that was very obscure.
Yes. And that's how we started talking about Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. And Maddox pipes in from like the way, way back. And he goes, my dad doesn't like that show because the main guy is too liberal.
It's the best part is the main guy.
Adults like immediately were like, wait, what? And then the main guy that he was talking about isn't even.
He thought it was Jimmy Fallon.
Or no, Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. And I was like, oh,
well, Jimmy
he's
somebody.
Never been on. I don't think he's been on this show before. It was really funny.
A long time. It's
just so
he
funny.
Was so matter of fact, so straightforward, so confident in his saying.
No, you guys talking about Saturday Night Live? Yeah, my dad, he doesn't really like that show. It's too fucking liberal. Tyler and Ashley from Louisiana, which is it is more Republican state. I think, and I believe Tyler's Republican. I mean, which is absolutely fine. Matter. But I've never seen like Tyler's most open-minded person. It was just such a funny statement.
It was so
But apparently, though, I do think the rug was lifted a little bit, and I think Uncle Tyler hates Jimmy Kimmel.
I have no idea.
And as soon as Maddox thought we were talking about Jimmy Kimmel, he's like, yeah, fuck that guy. Dad hates him. Sorry, Jimmy. Tyler's not a fan.
I don't know which Jimmy. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, but I can't remember. I have not laughed that hard over something like so innocent in a long time. And
it was very funny.
And God bless Maddox. He had several little Sour Patch Kid moments over the weekend. He did. But he's the sweetest little kid.
He is. He's not really that little anymore. He's 12, right? 11, 12.
He's 11.
Seamus,
yeah, he's 11.
On his way to nationals for archery. Yeah. Very good luck, Maddox. We love you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have thought we would have had a ton of Maeve moments.
Yeah,
but
Maeve
like her and Savannah, like
mm-hmm.
the Batman and Robin of that personality type. And they kind of went off and just did their own thing.
Yeah, the most I think they did was call each other sassy. Like they were like, you're being sassy.
Yeah, especially when they were trying to race each other in the
like they both wanted to be the
first.
Sassy one. They wanted.
There's something else.
Yeah. They're two peas in a pod. Like it's insane how much similar they are and how alike they are. But they are the sweetest kids.
They are. They did a great job this past week, with the exception of our children. Well, they weren't here yet, so I shouldn't loop I'm not going to lump Savannah and Maddox in this because they weren't there yet, but last week's episode when the kids were taking a shower at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, God.
And playing chess and slamming doors. I listened back to the episode, and thankfully you don't really hear that much. So it's actually me more complaining about it than it is. So sorry about that. Do we have to, crew? But
No, that's okay.
And for any of those that don't know kind of what we're doing, because I didn't really introduce it, we segued into it because we were talking about the spring break and go to the Royals game. But the Sour Patch Kids moment, we were getting some comments and people had asking about our kids, and we had kind of tried to figure out a way where we're not giving a ton of information away on our children just because they're children, but like be able to allow the audience to get to know them a little bit better. And we came up with the Sour Patch Kid moments, and we have that for if you tag Sour Patch Kid moments, you can comment on any of our socials. You can actually send it to us at dowehavето.com as well. Just send us your Sour Patch Kid moments. We'll talk about them on the air.
Yeah. And it would be at hashtag Sour Patch Kid moment.
Hashtag Sour Patch Kid moments. You like a long hashtag. You love them.
I don't mean to.
No, it's okay. You got to get everything in there. Get all that information in.
Sorry.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Also, while we have to go backtrack a little bit, this is Do We Have To, a marriage podcast.
I said that.
But we are part of the Not Actual Family Studios production, and our executive producer is Colin Math.
Colin's going to be so mad about that. We went like 10 minutes before we even mentioned his name. He's going to be pissed.
I don't think he will.
I think he's going to be mad.
I think he's going to be more annoyed that I went back and did it
probably,
now than I should have just ignored it.
Yeah.
But anyways.
He's a diva, though.
He's not a diva.
He's a bit of an executive producer diva.
That's because he knows what he's doing and we don't.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And speaking of getting to know us, there's no better way to get to know us than starting our second round of the wonderful Let's Get Deep. Did you spill everything all over yourself?
I
You okay
sure
over there?
did.
Jesus Christ. It's an aggressive drink.
My water bottle just...
It's definitely a Tuesday here. Yeah. So, but let's get deep. So we actually came up with this idea. I shouldn't say we came up with it. We got it. We got it
from Love is Blind.
Which we took this wonderful game here. Let's Get Deep. It's made by the company called Relatable, who also built What Do You Meme? They put that down there, so I assume that was like their big marquee game.
Which we never played.
But what this allows, in the show Love is Blind, you're going to meet somebody that you're never going to be seeing until you potentially, unless you propose to them and they say yes. I don't know, I can't speak today. And while you're doing that, you're learning how to get to know each other. Well, they use this game as a way of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
There's 3 types of cards. There's an icebreaker, a deep, and a deeper. And we just finished up our first round, meaning we went through all 3 card types, and now we are getting back to our second round. So we're going to be doing another icebreaker.
Yeah.
Did you pick that out randomly?
I did. Well,
Suspect.
okay. So truth,
Okay.
Bible moment. The first card is very, very detailed, and we don't have a lot of time to go.
We have plenty
over.
of time. Just do the card that was the random card.
Man,
Don't do that. We owe the audience authenticity. Go ahead. I promise I'll answer it quick. How about that?
that's not the right one.
Wow, you went through multiple, huh? Wow. Glad we could get this out in the air.
It was, if you had to permanently move to a new country, where would you go and why?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Why is that? Why would that take too long?
Because
you just choose one.
we haven't really been anywhere.
Well, we've been to Mexico, but I would go somewhere in Europe. I would probably say Scotland or Ireland, but I'm thinking Scotland because for some reason in my head that it is a little bit, is it smaller? I think it's smaller. Maybe it's not smaller. Even where it seems more, well, I guess it's not even more country. I don't know. I would just go Scotland. It would be Scotland or Ireland, but I think right now I would go Scotland. And I think that's just because Angie just took a trip there not too long ago with her brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looked beautiful. And
Yeah.
I don't think you can, I mean, this isn't bashing anything or anything like that, but I just think that there's a lot of European countries over there where I think the average citizen it's not like life's perfect or anything, but it just seems like there's a little bit more of a goal to have a comfortable life. It doesn't have to be ostentatious or luxurious, but just a comfortable life where a balance is better. I don't think we have that so much here. I mean, you can make it, but like that's not what society is gearing you towards in America. So if I could, that would be it.
I would probably say like Denmark, Sweden, or Ireland. I really love the Scandinavian Nordic lifestyle.
Yeah. Why is that?
It just seems so calm and so focused on self and family.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think
And the
there's just
older that I get, I feel a strong, and like lately, I feel like a very strong calling to live a more simplistic life, like a more simpler, authentic. Not like we're not authentic, but like
buy that hug book again.
Huh?
You gonna buy that hug book again or whatever it's called?
Well, I bought like several of them. I've read them all and I love them. But I just feel like we get so wrapped up in like the crazy, like this and that and this and that. Like we're always going, I will pull into the driveway, drop off one round of kids, put another group of somebody in, go, come back. You guys get out, somebody else gets in. And then I go, like, I am like, you know, going back and forth. And it's just, sometimes it would just be nice to just be and enjoy. And I feel like they embody that so well.
Sure.
And everything I've done, like research wise, they seem to have just a very clear understanding of what truly makes you happy.
Yeah.
And
it's a focus for them. It seems like, yeah.
And so like that would be mine. But I do think Ireland has always been on my list of places to go. But then part of me kind of wants to live in France or Italy. But, you know, I just feel like where I'm at in my life, it would be like, you know, very slow, a slow living life.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, like I said, I think America's great. I think like, you know, now growing up and thinking about this, now being an adult, being 40, I think America is like awesome from like 18 to 35, maybe, like when you're really trying to like hammer away and be productive and make something of yourself. But I think most of us get to a point where it's like, you know, we do this, but this is, I mean, we want to help people. This isn't really a job, right? But this is something we do in our extra time. But like, there's just a constant push to grind and get like output productivity here.
Right.
So that does eventually you get to a point in your life where that weighs you down. I definitely think it's a positive for somebody who's really trying to build up a career and build up like a work ethic. Like I think this is a great place for that. And then I think once you start slowing down, it'd be nice if you could just jump to different places when you're in different points of your life.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it also, like my feel of it, like is during Lent, I'm doing that Lenten devotional and it's just
shout out Jesus.
Oh my goodness. It's just, you know, it's just been on my mind a lot lately. And, you know, there's just things that I feel like I don't want to see. I'm leaning more towards experiences instead of materials. And, you know, I want to make a purposeful life, not just a life seen and flashed around. Does that make sense?
It does. I feel like that's been a huge shift for us, and it's probably where we're getting in our age. And then the fact that we now have more of a really understanding that our kids are getting to a point where they're going past a certain age that we're not getting certain things back. And so, and we're seeing the focus on them too. Like when they enjoy something, usually it's an experience. It's not a toy or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that makes sense. Well, that was a great question. That was just an icebreaker too. That was, see guys, I highly recommend this game. Like even if you're just sitting around, they have a version of it now, like that you play with your friends. They also have a version where you talk about more intimate things like in the bedroom. I saw that at Target the other day. Shout out Target.
We won't be doing that on the show.
You never know.
I don't think
Never. It's possible. Just let us know. Do we have to crew?
Nope.
You want to learn some moves?
No.
Come to the guy.
No. I'm good.
You know what I'm talking about, Rosebud?
We all know.
Talking about sexual intercourse.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Oh my gosh.
Now we need to get something. Now we really need to get talking about something serious here.
God.
Hey, you know what? The positive thing is that what we're going to talk about is when we were kind of at our rock bottom as a couple and we were on the verge potentially of getting divorced. And here I am singing about sexual intercourse with you. So I think we've gone a long way and I think it needs to be celebrated.
It does. I think we've learned a lot in our 13 years of together. Yeah.
And I would say the first half of them, I don't think we were our best selves. I don't know. I'm trying to think when we got married, and actually longer than that, honestly, because I don't think we really came out of it and we're getting into it. Doesn't mean we're bad. It's just like, you know what I mean? But before we get too involved into this, as I'm introducing the show, right? We are going to be talking about a few things, but I can't talk about any of those things yet until I mention the wonderful sponsor of our show. We'll mention the Do We Have to crew member also that sent in the question here in a second. But our wonderful sponsor of the show is Miss Kylie Willis.
Yep.
You can find her at kansascitykylie.com or on Instagram at Kansas City Kylie. She's a realtor for both Missouri and Kansas. She does one hell of a job. She has helped us buy and sell, and we love working with her. She's helped many people. She also donates to the KC Pet Project, and highly recommend you go out to her website. She's very knowledgeable, keeps you updated, and once you're a customer of hers, you are a lifelong customer. And thank you so much, Kylie, for being a sponsor of the Do We Have to Talk About It segment. And we're going to do you proud talking about the time we almost got divorced.
Okay. So we were given a question a while back that I felt like needed a like its own episode and its own segment. And it's from a Do We Have to crew member, Lakeisha. And
Shout out Lakeisha.
And she says, you have mentioned on your show you were close to getting divorced. Can you tell us why and how you got out of it? Yeah. So I apologize, Lakeisha, for us taking such a long time to get there. But you do have, that was a great question. And I think it's a valid one to ask because this is a marriage podcast. And so it wouldn't be fair if we didn't tell you like our actual story. But the thing about this story is it's not just something that came out of the blue. It's not something that just happened overnight. And it's not something that you can just say within like an hour of chatting. So we are going to break it up into a couple segments. I think we're going to have a couple episodes covering it. So hopefully we get all of the details out there that you guys are interested in and need to know. But the main focus is that our story is not going to probably mimic anybody else's story. And we are not saying that we did this the right way. We aren't saying we did it the wrong way. This is just how we navigated through a really tough time in our relationship. And the blame is solely on ourselves and no one else. And we take full responsibility on our actions during the time of this period in our life. And we have chosen to grow together instead of apart. And that might not be the answer for everybody else, but regardless, we are here to support whatever you guys are going through. And hopefully this can shed some light on some people's experiences and give you a pathway. And then also it can just help us.
It's just a good opportunity to, and I wouldn't compare it to like, if I'm listening to this, I wouldn't try to do any type of comparison to either say, oh, I'm better than that or I'm less than that. I would use it as a teacher. Just try to take anything that we take, because you're going to hear bad ways of handling things. And then eventually, another episode, you're going to hear about kind of how we were able to come out of it. Right. And so nobody does everything the same way, but the whole purpose of this goal and talking about our marriage and relationships is so that you guys as the listeners are able to kind of take that information and then turn it into what makes sense and works best for you. So we're going to break this down probably in about 3 parts, right? We're going to start with the most climactic and movie-driven way of doing this. We're going to start it out right when shit's just flying off the wall, right? We're going to go right at rock bottom. Then we're going to talk about when that was that turning point of when we decided we were going to work on it, and then go into how we worked on it, and then kind of some of the things that worked out. And you're going to hear all different kinds of stuff. And so certainly as these weeks are going on, because we film weekly, we put it out every Friday. And again, you can get more information at dowehavto.com. You can submit any questions on this. If you have any specific questions while we're going to be talking about the subject of us almost getting divorced and kind of how we worked out, send that to dowehavto.com. Just submit a question to the show. We'll take that and we'll incorporate it as we're going through these. Yeah.
Or you can also post it on social.
Yeah, that's fine too. Yeah. Most organized fashion, go to our website. Yeah. But social, we should be able to grab it. So, So rock bottom.
Yeah.
Rock bottom is not, honestly, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. And if you would like, I can kind of like break down the start of it. Cause I feel like a
go
lot
for
of
it.
it's more like if you're talking about physical actions that got us there or kind of like straw that broke the back, I feel like I'm responsible for that. So
I don't want blame put on anybody.
well, it's not about blame, but I'm just saying like if somebody's going to explain it, right? I feel like there's parts of it that should be me. And so
go for it.
to essentially break this down, I would say about 2019 going into 2020, kind of shortly after we had Maeve, I was on the tail end of a really rough period of low mental health in my life, meaning that like I was not able to get control of my anxiety. And then when I wasn't having horrible issues with my anxiety, I was having horrible depression, intrusive thoughts, suicidal ideations, all those sorts of things. And it wasn't as if we did nothing about it. We tried to, get some counseling, get medicine, and it just didn't seem like anything was working. And instead of continually trying to look for new ways to do it, I feel like I kind of like figured out what the path of least resistance was, which you guys have heard me, and it's probably why I am the way I am about it. Like I'm so adamant or kind of aggressive about it is because I wasn't doing those things. And my way of the path of least resistance is I would just, when I was feeling bad, I would take anti-anxiety medicine. And I think it got to a point where the anti-anxiety medicine wasn't working as well. And so I'd take that. And like at nighttime, once things settled down, and even when things were still going on, like have a beer with it, have 2 beers with it. And you can kind of see where that was snowball. It never was anything where it was like anything I did was, well, no, I think, it was just all irresponsible. See, it's just, I feel like, you're going to explain. That's why it's better I explain this. Cause I'll just start calling myself out on this as I'm trying to posture it. I basically just started self-medicating. Like, it wasn't working as well. And instead of going back to the doctor and saying, hey, this medicine isn't working as much, just kept taking more of it. And then, sure enough, as we're kind of getting towards the end, before Emily and I had what I call a separation, it got to the point where, like on a Saturday, she's taking the kids out and I'm not doing anything with them that would put them in danger, but I'm not involved. I'm sleeping. I remember Connor and Will coming over to watch a Missouri game. I don't even remember watching it, just because I felt so bad that I just wanted to sleep through it, and you sleep through it by taking Xanax or whatever it is. Right. And that ultimately led to like, on top of it, like work was fine, but also there's this constant pressure to feel like I needed to be doing more. And I felt like that my only identity in the family was providing. And if I wasn't doing a good job of that, and that was kind of starting to have an effect, my, lifestyle choices and my inability to get control of my mental health in a healthy way. And I started feeling like I was going to lose my job, even though I never did. I just had that feeling, and maybe that was the anxiety. And I remember it kind of came to a head that day that and I think it was sometime in September of 2019. And you came up to work because you had forgot I had forgot all my medicine, and you were kind enough to bring it up to me. And I remember coming up to you and saying, hey, I'm so sorry. I've been feeling terrible. I hope you're not, I don't even remember what it was exactly. But anyway, at the end of it, it alluded to you basically were like concerned about me being around you and the kids. And
you had said you wanted to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I was having suicidal thoughts. Yeah.
And I asked if you ever felt like you were going to hurt.
That's right. Right. You were like, you ever have any thoughts about hurting me and the kids? And I was like, no. But when you asked me that, the fact that was even a concern. Yeah. No, you didn't set me off. I set myself off because I was like, this is it. There's no reason. There's no reason for me to be alive anymore because, I'm not going to be able to provide at work because I can't get it together. And now it's to the point now where I'm doing these things in such a self-destructive manner. My own wife is concerned about me being around. And, at the time, I mean, it's crazy to me now to even think this was something that was a choice, but like at the time I didn't think I had any other choice. And I went into work and I took a whole bottle of pills, and then I tried to go and sit somewhere where nobody could see me. And the plan was just to fall asleep and not wake up. And thankfully somebody at work found me, and they were able to get the ambulance, and then they do all the things that they do to keep you alive. And then I ended up having to go to a psychiatric facility for, I don't know how long.
A week.
It felt like years. And honestly, it
was 4 days.
It was longer than 4 days.
it was a week, like
from like Monday through Sunday, because the Chiefs, shout out Patrick, played the Detroit Lions on our first year we went to the Super Bowl. But yeah, it was multiple days, you know what I mean? And I don't know if anybody's been ever in one of those facilities. All I can speak to it is being a person who is, hold on, before I get too down into there. I said kind of where we're at, but I want you to be able to speak to it because you have a whole different perspective. And like you were in, I think, survival mode, and rightfully so. And you're being protective of yourself and the kids. You know, what was your kind of perspective during those times leading up to what I call the event, which was really the suicide attempt?
Yeah, I was in survival mode. I was worried about you because I didn't know you would ever try anything. Like, I didn't believe that you would because of my history with people in my life. Mm-hmm. And we had just had Maeve, and she was a baby, and like I was in survival mode. We had 3 kids. You know, you were working full time, I was working part time, and I was just like struggling, you know, like it was just kind of one of those things. Like, I know that the decision to have a 3rd kid was really hard for you, and that I pretty much pushed you into that.
Well, I didn't want to have a 3rd kid, not because I didn't want to have a 3rd kid. I didn't think we could financially afford it. And then I felt like that was going to put a bunch of pressure on us, which I'm glad we did.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
And honestly, what I probably was saying, again, I think it all comes down to communication during these times. Like,
and we were in therapy.
I feel like it was telling me, like me telling you that was like selfishly like, we're not going to have enough money for this. But in reality it was, I don't think I can handle this. And I never told you that. You know what I mean? I never communicated that. So it would never be fair to me.
Like, it was just me telling you how much I needed another baby. Like, I didn't feel like I was complete as a mom. And I honestly felt like there was a piece of me missing. And I'm so glad we had Maeve because she is.
Yeah. We wouldn't even have a Sour Patch Kids moment for Maeve.
We wouldn't have a lot without her.
Yeah.
But I never thought that you would do what you did, and I took it so personal.
Yeah. Well, because you have your own history with it.
I thought it was my fault. I thought it was because of me, and I thought, how dare you do this to me? I never thought that it was. I didn't take the time to sit back and say, he didn't do it to me. He did it to himself. Mm-hmm. I felt like a victim.
Sure. Well, you were. I mean, you were.
I didn't know how to forgive it at that time.
Fair. I will say, I think anybody has friends or family that are dealing with mental health issues, you guys have to understand. You got to stop looking at it like they're not able to handle it. Like, when you have a mental illness like this, and I've been on, I'm saying this from somebody who's in a great spot. You may want to take a drink, honey. You okay?
Sorry.
You're good. I can just hear you. You sound like your throat's really dry. It's gonna be okay. We'll get through this. I think it's just one of those things. Like, people are like, it's either you can handle it or you can't handle it. Like, you're not in the right fucking state of mind.
No.
So like, I don't want to die. I want to live as long as possible. As a matter of fact, now my mindset is like, I want to do everything I can to live as long as possible.
Right.
Couldn't have had more of the opposite thought process going. And that's what it does. It makes your disease makes your brain's inability to do its most vital thing, which is survive.
Yeah.
That's
and I've never
what it does
had
to
those. I've never felt that way. I've never gotten to that point. I've never not wanted to be here.
And it's okay if you haven't. But the point is,
but I'm saying like that's why I didn't understand.
Yeah, you're making a choice. It's not a choice to feel that way. And then when things it's not even that. Like, I feel like I've had suicidal thoughts probably all my life, off and on, intrusive thoughts. Mm-hmm. But it really isn't until things line up and you're just seeing it and it looks like it's on paper. It is so obvious that you have no business being here and you're just a huge burden to everybody around you and you don't think you're going to get out of it. Then I thought I was doing the right thing. Like, me ending it, I thought put you guys in a better place in the sense of, I'm just telling you what the thought process was.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like,
you're saying that's not correct, and I don't think it's correct either. But I'm just
our
telling
family
you,
would have been
that's
destroyed.
the mental psyche of somebody that's going through that. So I'm just telling you, like, those people really, you need to get them in a place to help. Try not to like lecture them or talk to them too much. You know what I mean? Just try to be there to support, but really they need to get somewhere and they need to figure out a medicine and they need to figure out a way to process through the things they do. And they need to get through it fast. And in this country with this healthcare, you've got to be as proactive as supporting that as possible because it takes time to get into that stuff, especially seeing like a fucking psychiatrist. And then you got to find the right one who diagnoses you properly. I've been diagnosed with 3 different things. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's like a lack of effort in some respects, but some of it's like probably was taking medicine at one time that either made me worse or wasn't anything to do with what I had going on. You know?
Right. And you were misdiagnosed on a few. Yeah.
So it's, you go to one and they say, hey, you're bipolar. You go to another one. It's like, no, you're high function anxiety and depression. You know what I mean? Like
they're totally
but you're taking different medicines for that too.
Yeah. The medicine can create a problem if there really isn't one.
Yeah. So there's just a bunch of factors in with it that kind of puts you in that place. But I had a really bad discussion with a boss and I think a lot of people can relate to this, had a boss that was a horrible micromanager. In my opinion, not a very good person because of that. And the way she treated me. And I did tell her I was having suicidal thoughts and I have no problem. I'm not saying the person's name or whatever, but like I told 2 people at work that day. One was her and one was her boss that I was having suicidal thoughts. They didn't do a fucking thing. I went back to my desk, after having these conversations, took a load of pills. And it wasn't until you called one of my former bosses who...
No, she called me.
Okay. He called you because I guess I don't know if I told him or she saw me do it or whatever. Anyway, long story short, like, the thoughts were there. There was a lot of things that action-wise that happened externally that kind of pushed it over the edge. And it was just a perfect combination, unfortunately. And it just made at the time it made sense for it to do, but it wasn't the right call. It's never the right call. If I would have done it and I had any sort of consciousness after it, in the afterlife, I would tell you it's not the right answer because it is a short-term solution. It's a long-term solution for you that does nothing but leave pain and havoc in the wake of the people that you care about. I've seen it. I've read about it. I understand it from and going through therapy of it and listening to other people that are survivors of family members that have done it. It's just not the right way to do it. You do everything you can do to just get the medical help that you need. And if you don't feel safe, you need to call the suicide hotline. You need to get to a hospital where they put precautions in place. You just got to do those things. It's gravely important.
988.
Yeah. And that's where, that was our rock bottom. Cause there was things that led up to that. Like obviously you could hear it, right? Lack of communication, lack of self-care, right? And self-care being like the physical, the mental, the emotional, all that
we
stuff
were both
was
at
not
our
up to
heaviest
snuff.
weights at that time.
There was nothing about what we were doing.
We were not taking care of our
Overworking.
bodies. We were both not physically okay. We were both, I think, eating the crappiest food. We had crap coming in. We had crap going out. Neither one of us were working on ourselves. We were both, I think, at a rock bottom. We were both overworked symptoms. And we were putting Band-Aids over bullet wounds. We really were just trying to live each day as if nothing was wrong, but things were clearly wrong. And we were going to therapy. We were doing all of the things, but we weren't using the tools that therapy was giving us. We weren't using the medicine that was being provided to us properly. And I think,
because I guess you were kind of struggling with wanting to take medicine. I remember kind of you at that point, you were kind of against it, and you did have kind of I
couldn't take it while I was pregnant.
Well, right. Yeah. But I'm just saying you did have an attitude where it was I shouldn't need to do this, or there was kind of this separation between us where you were kind of I've never experienced this. You kind of almost have to kind of get through it.
Yeah.
And I was I can't get through this. And so when I know that's what kind of your boundary is, you just have to figure it out. That communication kind of, and it's not your fault. It's just where we are. We could not have been too further apart.
Right.
When it comes to communication.
We were growing, but we were growing in such separate ways.
Yeah.
We were never we were forking. We were not paralleling.
Absolutely.
It was just,
yeah.
But I was in my very much tough love moment with you where it was like, get your shit together.
Yeah.
That was not the right way to.
It's a fight or flight response. And I think at the time that was your fight response, which it's fine. I mean, it wasn't that I didn't want to get out of it or be a part of it. And I know we've talked through this a million times in therapy, so this isn't anything new that you've heard, but like, there wasn't any part of me that didn't want to not feel that way or do all the things that I needed to do. I was just in a hole.
Yeah.
And
I was
just
in
so
my
weird
own
to talk
hole.
about this now because I'm not, and to think that I was, it's like you're a different person completely. It's weird. And we were just different. I don't even look at it like we were really truly a couple at the time, just because
weren't. And I don't think we had been for a while.
Anything. Yeah. Everything was so separate. And I know that a lot of that was work and being gone. And we've talked about that a little bit again, because I was traveling all the time and not recognizing those things and then making the changes. Because I could have got a different job. We could have figured all that stuff out, but we just weren't communicating to each other. And a lot of that was based off how we negatively responded to everything. If you said something to me, I'm sure I responded poorly, same vice versa. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, I just know how to get around communicating with this person and just deal with day-to-day life. Yeah. And that led us to our rock bottom. That was our rock bottom moment. And then as we're in rock bottom, I got to stay in a wonderful psychiatric facility for 7 days, which I was starting to get into this, but in the state of Missouri, at least, or I guess I was in Kansas, but either way, I don't think these facilities are the best when it comes to supporting mental health. I think they're crucially important. It's what we have. So you got to use them. But what I will warn you, just to give you a heads up about, is that, a lot of times, especially as an adult, they're treating other things in there besides just mental health, right? So the night I get in there, you have a suicide attempt. I'm like half out of it. And they're like, I hadn't slept really off very much in days, or if I was sleeping, it was under the influence of anti-anxiety medicine. So I don't know if that's really good quality sleep or not, but anyway,
probably not.
They put me in a room with somebody who was coming off heroin and was screaming all night long. So I don't know what the thought process is of how you treat somebody with mental illness, but you have a horribly anxiety-ridden, just attempted suicide person. You're going to put them in a room where somebody's tweaking and coming off a high like it's fucking transpotting and screaming the entire night. So that was my first initial experience. And then, you go through these classes and stuff, and like it's more of a design to keep you busy and safe until a psychiatrist can see you. That's typical. Like that's the way I look at it, which that's probably a life-saving thing for most people if you're in the situation I'm in. So I'm not shitting on it. It's just, if you really want to get better, if you really want to beat the disease that you have, and you want to get to a place where, you may need to take medicine for the rest of your life, but not necessarily. If you find the right way to treat it, and then you find the right way of the coping mechanisms and all the things that you need to do to make yourself better, and you take better care of yourself, you may not, you see a psychiatrist and they start, then, figuring out what they think it is. And they're only doing it like in 2 30-minute meetings, giving you medicine. And then, you're out. They had us do a meeting with Emily, and it was very clear from there that, we were going to separate. And, because, she didn't want me to come back home. And so that was extremely hard. So we kind of had this rock bottom moment as a couple. We I know I felt her, at the time. I had a lot of resentment about what she had said to me that day. But like, I just felt like I was just blaming everybody. I mean, I felt like I could have stopped the train coming, and I wanted to play the victim card. Not that there wasn't things done to me, but it's like, I wanted to take more accountability, or put more accountability there than on myself. And only thing I can control is myself. And I let myself down that day. I let my family down. And
I let you down.
No,
I let our family down.
So. No, I don't think so. And I think it's just one of those things that, so we get out of the hospital, and I'm immediately going to live with Dad. And, Dad and I love Dad more than anything in the world.
At that time though, you guys didn't have the best.
No, we didn't have a bad relationship. No. It just weren't super, like, it was so unfair to throw me into living with Dad. Like, and Dad's gone through so much in his life. Like, I can only imagine what his frame of reference, speaking of Mel Robbins and Weapon Theory, what his frame of reference is as far as dealing with mental health stuff. Like, I think it's amazing. I think him as an individual, like, I have nothing but respect for my dad. He's grown so much as a person. Like, we've talked about mental health stuff, and I remember what his thought process was on it when he was younger and he was a Marine, and where it is now. It's like, it's totally an evolved thing. And it's really nice to talk to him about these things, but it was really an unfair ask for me to get thrown in on him. And he took it like a champ and let me live with him and dealt with me being the way I was and trying to figure that out, and then being horribly broken because, I think that's kind of where we get into maybe post-hospital at this point. And then maybe we can kind of then talk about the event that kind of brought us together, and then we cut it, or at least end it for the day. And then we kind of go into like, hey, we do another episode and we talk about how we were able to get out of it. Right. Yeah. That's kind of my thought. So kind of get through the point where now we're back and forth, but the back and forth is like, I can come over for an hour. Like, it was really on your schedule.
Yeah.
So sometimes it was only a day or two a week, and it didn't last that long. I felt like it only lasted like 6 to 8 weeks total. Right.
What?
Me being not in the house, or was it like a month?
It was a week.
No, it was longer than that.
No.
It was a few weeks.
No, babe, it was a week.
No, I got out at the end of September. It wasn't until the end of October that I was in there. I'm pretty sure.
It was the end of September when you went in.
And it was like the end of October.
Beginning of October when you...
Now, car got stolen mid-October, and it wasn't until a week after the car got stolen, which now you ruined that for the listeners.
Okay, so then max 2 weeks.
Like 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah,
it was not more than 2.
Okay, sorry. I mean, it felt a lot longer. Apologies. 2 to 3 weeks. And during that time, I barely got to see the kids, and it was like an hour, and then I had to say goodbye, and they had no idea why. And then during that time in between too, I feel like we overly involved our family in the situation, both sides, where then they had to feel responsible for getting involved. And then anytime then there's feelings or their frame of reference comes involved. And that, in my opinion, even if you have the most supportive family, which I think we have a supportive family, there's nothing that's going to help you come together, because it's your people coming around you to be protective of you. Well, that's not going to...
Like your family protected you, my family protected me.
Yeah. I mean, everybody worked together, but it was very much of like, this isn't going in a good spot. I need to be protective of my daughter. I need to be, I need to help my son. And it creates more separation. So I do think too, for anybody that's listening, it's not that you don't want to communicate with your family or let them know what's going on. And if you need help, I commend and absolutely would support it. It's just be careful with what you're asking of for the help, and be mindful of the fact that there may be, if you give them a perception of something, or if you tell them what's going on, they may have a perception that it might not be fully the reality, and it may cause there to be additional separation from your spouse if the ultimate goal is for you to get together.
Yeah. Like I was going to therapy for an hour to 2 hours every day that you were gone. Trying to figure out how to navigate life with you again. Mm-hmm. Because I was so angry that you would do that to me after everything I'd been through with.
It's interesting because you were dealing with your like frustration and not wanting to be with me right after it happened. And I don't think my struggles with whether I wanted to be in a marriage or not didn't happen until
much later,
after we started doing the things to save our marriage.
Yeah.
At first, it was just, I need to get back and get things fixed.
It would have been so much easier if I didn't love you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean,
the option to divorce you would have just been so much easier if I didn't love you. But I
think there's people that love people too. And the option of divorce does make it easy regardless. I mean, it does. It's the reality. That's why half of marriages end in divorce. It's an easy out. So when something gets really hard, that could have very, very easily been our story. We got lucky in some respects.
Yeah, and I was working through a lot of my own like trauma from the topic of suicide.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and it's okay. Like your personal feelings and your experiences.
My family needed to work through it too.
Yeah.
And I don't think some people.
It was just a perfect storm of that timing of that event with other things that have happened in our lives. Everybody's just trying to get through it and get by. But I feel like if you needed to unload some poison that was inside of you, I just felt like that event created that opportunity to do that. And like we all did it.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. Just like, I think a lot of people cathartically happened to have to get some stress off themselves about what was going on.
Because I didn't process a situation fully through the first time. And I don't think some other people did either.
I don't think any of us did.
And then it was like, here we are again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to really face some demons.
Yeah.
And I had to really process through.
I mean, your dad gave me a really hard conversation that I'm very appreciative of. because it kind of got me, I think I am a little bit over the top about my health in some ways as far as like my exercising and stuff, because, you know, he had a difficult conversation with me about you're not taking care of yourself. You haven't, you know, I remember, you know, taking care of yourself, you know, you need to continue to process. You haven't been processing through and dealing with your mom. You know, that's always been a struggle for me, is losing my mom at a young age. And he wasn't wrong. All those things were right. And it was something, it was hard to hear, but I needed to hear it. And I do think about that conversation a lot. And it does not motivate me, but it gives me intrinsic motivation always to try to be my best. And it made me realize like how much I wasn't doing stuff that I needed to be doing.
Think we both weren't doing right by each other during that time.
Right. No, I understand. But it was still me that did the act.
I mean,
so
I was shutting off.
Why would you go to your daughter and be like, hey, you're not doing these things the right way when you didn't do anything wrong? You know what I mean? I'm not going to say I did do something wrong.
I was turning a blind eye to our financial struggles. I was turning a blind eye to there was a lot of things. It was like, I wanted this and I wanted that, and I was going to get it, whether you were going to do it for me or not. Like I was in a very selfish mode. And I put on a lot of, I was in my own state of disarray.
We just had we had no boundaries. We had no expectations as far as what life should be as a couple. Everything was like, well, this is what I want and this is what I want. And so then we kind of figure out in the middle, but ultimately we need to figure out how to make it all work.
Yeah. And that's just not.
No, it's not.
We were digging ourselves into individual holes and blaming each other. And what we were doing was the shit I was digging out to go deeper in mine, I was piling on top of you, and vice versa. Yeah. Like it was just, here we are on the beach. I'm in one hole, you're in another, and we're just filling each other. Like we're burying each other alive. Like it was
a
just
really well way of saying that. I think you're right. It was death by 1,000 cuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just not one major thing until that moment. I think that major thing just brought out all the negative things that were going on.
Yeah. I mean, we became the full blown avalanche.
Yeah. And we were still going through that process of I feel like going through the motions. It wasn't until, and I never thought I would say this, so thankful that I'm going to go see the Joker movie with Connor and our executive producer, Uncle Colin. And I walk into QT, and again, you know, just that mental, just not taking care of yourself, mental health state that I was in. I just left the keys in there, not even thinking about, and left the car running. A young kid walked right past me, got in the car, drove off, stole the car. And it wasn't, and it has our garage opener in it and has information on how to get to our house, all that stuff.
Well, I mean, our address was in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they know where our address is. They have our garage opener, and they stole our car. Thankfully, nothing ever had happened, but that then made us kind of like, okay, you need to have somebody else here with you and the kids while this is going on. And then from there, we ended up figuring out, okay, we need to start going to, we had a really hard conversation. I don't remember the conversation exactly, but we decided that even if it's not just for you and me at the very moment, 100%, we need to try to go to counseling for the kids, and that we need to promise each other that we would work through our own stuff too. So we would go to individual counseling and go to couples counseling. Yeah. And I don't think if we make that decision, we're divorced right now. Because I really think it came down to, there were so many things, but once we were able to get our mental health in a better spot, a lot of the other stuff took care of itself. And there were still residual negative effects from how we were as a couple and not taking care of ourselves, and how we were selfish about our own needs and wants and desires. Like we still felt the effects of that several years after our dark rock bottom moment.
There was still resentment held.
Well, I'm not even talking about being mad at you or upset with you. Yeah, that does come out every once in a while. And I'm not going to lie. There's times where something's going on and it reminds me, and I'm like, I didn't get that type of grace when I was good. You know what I mean? Like, and it's wrong. It's wrong to have that attitude, but it does. I mean, it was such a serious thing, and it's such a deep thing that it still comes out. But that's why the therapy and the constant work is required, because it's one of those things. It's a wound that you have to heal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so once we got together, and we can talk about this here in our next episode, really kind of coming together. What did therapy look like? What did we talk about? What did all of a sudden, how did we shift our focus from the mental, the physical, and the emotional health? What did that look like? And, that was, the mental health thing, guys, like it sounds like there's this story arc where we get through this and everything's fine. Even up to a year ago, guys, like this has always been a struggle for me, but thankfully, because we had the different mindset about it, we just kept looking for solutions. And I think we really found one, and I will talk about that, even though it's kind of like fast forwarding past, but we can talk about that as we talk about kind of like how we got ourselves out of it. I've mentioned this maybe the first episode or two of when we started this, that Colin helped save my life.
Oh, yeah.
And I do feel that way. Like if it wasn't for him doing some research and helping me find some different experimental ways to treat it, like I still think that would have been a struggle that would have, I think we would have gotten through it together, because like our whole process and attitude and how we deal with it and our attempt to continually make sure that we are taking care of ourselves was there. So I feel like we would have gotten through it. But I don't know if it just would have been as quality of life for you, especially, and not for me either. I feel like I still have my times, but like they're manageable. And it's just getting to a point of it. I don't think people understand that too. It's like, it's not like it's this horrific thing. A lot of times it's not a manageable, uncomfortable, constant feeling that feels like physical pain that's just being generated from your mind. And it gets old. And it's not so much that one day you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this. But you get tired of dealing with it. Number one, it wears you down. And then that's where those thoughts of like, I'm not good enough to be here. And I'm a burden because I can't handle it anymore. I'm wearing down. I'm running a marathon and I'm out of gas. So I look forward to actually talking about that, because I do think it's something not a lot of people do, but I know it's a process or a treatment process that more people are doing, and there's a lot easier ways to get a hold of it now, and it's helped me a ton. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely. Because we're up like on a year of all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've been through a lot, and a lot of it's been because of me. And
no.
Here's the thing, guys. Like
it's been both of us. It's just in different ways.
We're going to have our times. And I think Emily's mentioned this before, like, hey, today I'm 20%. And it's like, we never communicated that kind of stuff to each other. So it was like, I'm sure both of us always felt slighted all the time and those sort of things. But like, there's going to be a point in time in your life.
I was not there yesterday.
Yeah. Well, no, you're fine. There's going to be a point in time in life though, where you're going to struggle with something: physical, mental, disease, illness, bad choices, with infidelity, financial choices, whatever it means. You really need to be cognizant of how you work on navigating those issues with your partner and building a strong foundational relationship, so you have the best chance possible to make it through this stuff. I think a lot of this, we got lucky. I think that fucking car stolen put us on a path where, maybe another day or two longer of doing that. Maybe I do go down a super resentful road. Maybe we do just hate each other and not want anything to do with each other. And then we're trying to navigate co-parenting. I don't know. But I feel like that moment for some reason always sticks in my head. It
was like divine intervention for me.
Yeah.
Like I was.
Yeah. If you're a person of faith, like it's definitely a moment of like, what are the odds of that happening? Like I just
remember I didn't feel safe without you. And then the minute you came home, I felt safe, and I didn't want to feel safe with you home.
Well, and I think we gave ourselves another chance to come back together, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, we're together and we've got our family, and like we need to fight for this. And that's what we're gonna talk about in our next sub. How do we decide to fight for this? And we're just gonna be picking up where we left off. But
I'll try not to cry so much next time.
Cry as much as you want. But guys, we really appreciate it. And like I said, there's people that are going through this. It's okay. And hopefully you listen to the story, because like you just heard a bunch of not good decisions being made. You heard a bunch of selfish behavior, not communicating. Like, learn from those things. Maybe you're doing a better job right now, but everybody could always be doing better. I did a lot of things out of anger. And a lot of bad decisions were made. And again, those decisions fortified a path, even when we got into a better place, of things that affected us for years to come. So know that even though it might seem like a short-term thing, your ability to jump on these things proactively could prevent you from things happening down the road that unfortunately are just already in motion. Right.
Yeah.
So again, thank you guys for listening to this. Thank you for allowing us to tell our story. Thank you so much for even being a part of this podcast. And this is why this podcast even happened, is because of that moment. And I'm glad that we wouldn't be who we were if that didn't happen. So I'm just appreciative of the fact that you stood with me and gave me the opportunity to overcome what was going on. And we also, kept our family together too, our extended family too. Like, we were able to make all of that work. And it was because of what we're going to be talking about in the next episode. And I'm very appreciative of that. And I love you very much.
I love you.
Love you
so much.
Whew, I did it. I thought I was going to ugly cry so many times.
I'm so ugly.
No, you're fine. It's fine. I'm not a good communicator when I cry. I can barely, talk. So yeah. But hey, why don't we do this? Let's talk about, we'll wrap up that for today. And guys, thank you so much. And Lakeisha, thank you. We'll mention you again, obviously, in the next episode. Well, let's just give them a quick rundown. I know it's emotional. Can we just give a quick rundown of socials? And why don't you let me do that since you're upset, okay? No, you're fine. I just don't want you to. So again, guys, you're going to hear this. Feel free to ask any additional questions or more specific questions, because we want to help. And if you have any situational things that you want to relay back to us in regards to this, do it. Yeah. Go to dowehavето.com. Okay. And go to submit a question to the show. You can also, on our website, you can see what our next book club episode is. You can see what the next episode's about. You can even listen to it on that. And you can go to all the various podcast providers, as well as our YouTube, which is our video channel, to watch the show. Okay. Yeah. So just like, subscribe, and share.
If you are struggling with mental health and you are having any suicidal thoughts, or if you need help in that area, please call 988. It's 24/7. Mm-hmm. They have helped several times, several people. They're a good source to at least just get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Nope, very important. And again, so I mentioned you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@dowehavetomarriagepodcast. I mentioned our website, Instagram, Threads, and Facebooks. We're at do.we.have.to. On X, we're at dowehavetoPod. On TikTok, we're at dowehavetomarriagepod. And, certainly feel free to reach out to us and comment and those sorts of things, and continue to give us your Sour Patch Kid moments, as well as any other questions you guys have. Once we get through this kind of conversation about our divorce, which I know is a big thing that we've gotten a lot of questions on, we'll get back to making sure we're taking care of the rest of our Do We Have To crew members' questions and continue all those things.
Yeah, we've got some good ones.
Absolutely. So everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, it's not about where you are right now. It's about where you're going to go, right? And you have control of that. Control what you can control, all right? So give yourselves grace. Be kind to the ones you love. Don't be an asshole. I love you, Rosebud.
I love you.
Wake up, I'm about to shake up every little thing. Show you all that we can be. Come dance in my club.